most generators and add-ons should be standard features in Blender, but most of them do not meet the high standards and code quality required by the Blender development team. They are not held to the same standard as inbuilt tools, and most of them are experimental and do not follow most industry standards. While this might sound like a limitation, it is also what makes them superior to built-in Blender modeling tools. Because they can be anything, and as long as they produce exactly what they say they do, no one really cares how they are doing it behind the scenes. Like this procedural transportation generator. This is not how CGI traffic would be generated in a Hollywood movie. Most studios would make a more sophisticated system from ground up that follows traffic rules, sees pedestrians, and do much more. But why complicate things when simple is enough? With this transportation add-on, you just draw a line and cars will appear. There are several cars of different models and type, and the traffic behavior is convincing enough for most projects. Another example is true terrain. In a Hollywood movie studios would use something like Houdini and build an intricate system that understands weather patterns, latitude and longitude, and how that would lead to the erosion and shape of the terrain or landscape. They would also take into consideration the soil composition, how each layer would work and affect the surrounding vegetation, and more. But again, who needs all that if all you need is a good-looking environment with snow-capped mountains, maybe trees, and a system that allows you to easily edit and make beautiful landscapes? And that is what true terrain is. It's fast and produces amazing looking landscapes. And yet another example is the Rio damage add-on. If Hollywood was to make this add-on, it would take several years and be over 10 GB. Just take some time and watch Houdini webinars on YouTube. Look at the process they go to make generators for games and movies. They go out in the real world for more than a month, study the materials, take an engineering course, get a master's in chemistry just to develop an add-on that generates damage in concrete. But we have no time for that. This Rio damage generator may not consider the chemical composition or stress forces in a concrete, but when it comes to adding internal realistic damage to your models, it does a great job. What I love about add-ons and generators is that they don't have to worry about industry scrutiny. Hollywood people complain about how Blender tools do not meet their standards, and they need this, need that, but we are artists. We only care about the end product, and any tool that helps us make that easier to achieve is God-sent in our eyes. This pivot point transform tool is that sort of tool that just works and improves how you model in Blender. You can align it to the normals of any desired polygon, rotate and move it, or place it in the center of any object and the 3D cursor. Speaking of making art easier to make, a collection of 500 assets comes in handy, especially if that collection is a set of grass, bushes, weeds, plants, trees, and more. Things you always need when making any type of render. This grass blade is a large collection of nature assets, and it keeps growing with assets being added to it regularly. A new feature can take at least a year to be added in Blender. That's why add-ons and generators are better. They don't have to be coded to perfection like Blender inbuilt tools, they just have to improve how we work in Blender, like this Pro Align tool. I have not dug into the code to see if it's written to perfection, but I know it works perfect for aligning objects in any way I want. Blender inbuilt tools are exactly that, tools. But sometimes you need more than that. You need a starting point, and that is what generators and add-ons are, a starting point. Take an example of this any tree generator. It's a tool, but it's also a set of starting points for generating any type of tree that can be animated to form any shape. To get to this stage using just built-in tools, you would need a few days and a lot of experience with geometry nodes and modeling. But here, you just need the any tree add-on. Another great starting point is the Procedural Building generator. It's not just a generic building asset collection, it's a starting point for generating building. Just drag the generator onto a mesh, and that mesh turns into a building, and you have a number of designs to choose from. And the beauty of these generators is that there is always more. Like this auto building generator, it's also a building generator that has different templates and cells. It also has stylized designs if you're working on non-photorealistic renders. Built-in Blender tools will always be limited to tools that are multi-purpose, tools that can be used for many things, so that limits how creative developers can be with the kind of tools they make. But in the add-on and generator community, that limitation is not there, so developers can make any tools that are great at a specific thing, like this explosion generator. It creates stylized real-time explosions with just a drag of a mouse. Or this knighting generator. If you are waiting for a knighting tool in Blender, don't hold your breath. A tool like this is only possible because of the generator and add-on community. Tools aside, libraries like this Fluent library will never be shipped with Blender by default. While they are unimaginably important, they require a lot of work and it's expected that you will create your own materials. But materials take a lot of time, that's why libraries like Fluent materials are important. Sometimes a tool may already come installed in Blender, but the add-on community thinks they can make a better one, like the Flip Fluids add-on, which comes with more options and a better fluid simulation system than the built-in tools. It's much easier to use and you get more forces and control than the built-in Mantaflow. Or Geoscatter, which could be thought of as a better particle system than the Blender built-in system for scattering and instancing objects. And another plus, it comes with its own library of plants, rocks and things to scatter. Sometimes add-ons are the only way to achieve something. For example, there are no dedicated optimization tools that come pre-installed in Blender. This is why MemSaver exists, to bridge that gap. It cuts the rendering time in half by optimizing your textures to produce faster renders while maintaining the quality of your project. Some features that are added by the Blender community would be features that we would never see in Blender if it wasn't for the add-on community, like this Light Gobos collection, a collection of shadow casters which are animated to add more detail and contrast to your renders. Thank you for watching. I hope you realize how important generators and add-ons are and how different they are to inbuilt tools. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.